Please welcome Zhen Fang to the stage.
Everybody, welcome to day 2 of RDC. Hope everyone here is having a great time. I know I am. First, I want to give everyone a little introduction of myself. I'm Zhen Fang, and I lead international here at Roblox. I've been here for about 2 years, leading international growth. And prior to being here, I spent about 13 years at Facebook, working on various roles around international expansion and platform growth as well. So I'm super excited to be here today. Today we're going to be talking about building for international markets. In this session, it's going to be divided into 2 different segments. In the first segment, I'm going to cover a little bit more about where our international growth lies today and where our future opportunity lies on the platform, as well as how you as developers can start taking advantage of that market. In the second half of the presentation, we're going to invite up a couple of our developers up on stage with us where they can share with you on how they've incorporated some of these learnings and expanded their experiences globally. So I'm really excited here to be talking to you about this topic, and hopefully you all can walk away with this with some ideas of what to build next, how to expand for international markets, and how to take advantage of this growth that we're seeing on Roblox platform. So first, let's take a look at where our global growth is coming from right now. As you can see, this is an extension of maybe something you saw yesterday on our keynote, where you'll see that our global growth is going really well throughout the world, even outside of our core markets of US and Canada. Actually, the growth right now, our daily active users on Roblox right now, over 80% of that is coming from outside of US and Canada. And we're seeing tremendous growth across Asia, Latin America, and Europe as well. And this means Roblox is already an international platform today and will be even more so in the years to come. Now let's take a look at where the growth is going to be coming from. This is a look into the future where you'll see that international markets is going to play an even larger role in driving the growth of Roblox. You can see the importance of markets like Southeast Asia, Japan, India, and Latin America. And together they represent opportunities for not just user growth, but revenue upside for you and your experiences as well. And efforts across Roblox are happening right now to accelerate and capture this growth, ensuring that you, our developers, have access to these markets. So as Roblox further grows and expands in these markets, so will your addressable market. This session is meant to help you understand what we can do to take advantage of this rapid growth and, and see how you can take that into growth of your experiences as well. Oh, one thing I forgot to note on that slide is those are just, it's not a projection, it's just an illustration of where our growth will be maybe coming from in the years to come. So moving on to our next section, where I'll cover a couple of content genres that we think are really interesting for our international users. You may have seen content genres being mentioned in our keynotes yesterday of how we're thinking about content genres and the opportunities on Roblox. And in this session here, I will go into 4 different content genres that we think are in particular interest for our international markets. So now let's take a look at the first content genre I want to highlight, which is open world action. Now, what is open world action? These are games that allow users to explore immersive worlds, complete missions, and engage in quests or challenges. In Q2 of this year, users searched for open world games over 14 million times, with India showing particular high interest. Users are eager for this type of content, but often struggle to find the exact Roblox game to play. So this could be an interesting genre for you to explore as you think about your international and global expansion plans. Next genre I want to highlight is sports. As we all know, a lot of us play sports, we watch sports, we enjoy sports in many different levels. And this category offers a very wide, diverse experience set due to the wide range of popular sports available and also the gameplay styles. As you can see, there's some realistic simulation games in sports to arcade-like simplified games. Sports, especially localized sports, perform really well on Roblox. and international markets such as Japan, Brazil, and South Korea, to name a few. In Brazil, soccer is very popular, better known as football. I think it's known as football in the rest of the world. So users search for terms like football or FIFA a lot on Roblox. And games like Super League Soccer and events like Copa Roblox are just a couple to highlight that have already taken advantage of this interest on Roblox and growth. And what's interesting there is that they're taking advantage of this by incorporating local teams, local events, and the desire for the community there to compete to further ignite their growth of their games on Roblox. This is really interesting because what we want to see is that if you can take a little bit of some of these genres, put some local flavor on it, and with some marketing, with events, it could go really, really big and viral on and off Roblox platform. A couple other countries to highlight here are Japan and Korea that have also a lot of interest in this category. The third genre I want to highlight is driving and racing games. Globally, we saw over 15.5 million searches related to this in the last quarter alone. And especially this category is really interesting for people that are into racing, stunts, or driving trick enthusiasts. Indonesia is a country that some of you may be familiar with already and know that it is a really large and fast-growing market for Roblox in the Southeast Asian market. And we're seeing a particularly high demand for motor racing games in Indonesia. Brazil and South Korea are two other countries where this category of gaming is also being seen. We're seeing unmet user demand. The final category I wanted to highlight here is social co-opetition. This is a set of games where typically feature you working with other players to solve or create something. It may encourage users to vote on a creation like Salon Makeover, or partner on a game show or problem solve a task like Outlaster. What's fascinating is that this genre is already growing very rapidly today on Roblox, as you've seen by the experiences like Dress to Impress over the summer months. But our data internally show that users want more of things in this category. We see an unmet user demand waiting to be filled around search terms like board games, fashion, creation, etc., and bingo even. So here, I've highlighted the 4 different genres that we're seeing unmet international demand, and now I'd like to dive a little deeper on a couple of key markets that is important for Roblox and I think could be really important for you as you think about creation of your games going forward. The first country I want to highlight is Japan. Japan is the world's 3rd largest gaming market, and we're growing very well there, as you can see by these metrics here. It has a population of over 120 million people, but it's the world's 3rd largest gaming market. Do you all know what's the 1st and 2nd largest gaming market in the world? Anyone? And then what else? 2nd? Oh, great, you guys are on top of it. What about the 4th? Okay, well, we can talk about the 4th. 4th is South Korea. Yeah. Japan, other things to note about Japan is that it's predominantly an iOS market. What does that mean? iOS users, what we see on our platform, tend to monetize slightly better than Android users. So you can think of Japanese users as a market that you can generally see a higher ARPU from. Another thing to note about Japan is that it tends to be a bit more insular, with local preferences shaping its top games and top charts tremendously compared to other regions. If you take a look at the top iOS or Android charts in Japan, you will see that you probably don't recognize many of those games or apps. It is actually different from any other country, including the US. And that tells you that there's a strong preference for local content and local culture in the Japanese market. So as you think about creation for and optimizing for the Japanese market, you can think, for example, in the vehicle and driving section that I mentioned earlier, in Japan, what we've seen is that there's a lot of users really interested in train and train simulation. You may think about creating an experience that's centered around that for the Japanese market. And for my son too, he's really into that as well, and he's not Japanese, so it's popular around the world. And because English is not as prevalent in Japan, well-localized content is even more important for the Japanese audience. So to succeed, we're seeing a lot of, there's many ways to succeed in Japan, but we're seeing an opportunity for arcade sports games in Japan, like volleyball and soccer, which is currently not yet met on our platform. And with the launch of PlayStation last year, it is primed for growth at its home turf, offering a great opportunity for developers like you to take advantage of a more aged-up cohort of users. Did I go? All right, here we go. Now, zooming into Latin America, Brazil is another key growth market for Roblox. It ranks in the world's top 10 globally for gaming, and I'm not sure if you all know this, but it's Roblox's second largest market in terms of DAUs worldwide. But unlike Japan, it is an Android-dominated market, much like the rest of the world. The rest of the world is all Android-dominated. So developers, when you're thinking about expansion of your experiences outside of US and primarily English-speaking markets, Android becomes even more of an important platform for you to consider. So you need to consider lower-end, lower-performance devices. But despite this, Brazil actually monetizes quite well on Roblox, with catalog spending over 10% over our global average, driven by both male and female users, which shows that it's a pretty healthy ecosystem. And like Japan, Brazil also shows a high demand for local games. So now I'd like to take a moment and summarize a couple of the key pillars that Roblox, the platform, offers you developers to help you take advantage of this international expansion. You know, the first pillar, optimizing monetization globally, is something near and dear to my heart. I want to share, I think some of you may have already heard in some of the other keynotes today that in-experience price optimization is coming. This is really exciting. It offers you the opportunity to test different price points for your virtual item without sacrificing user retention or engagement metrics, because there's going to be guardrails put in place for that. And in the future, regional pricing, oh, this is going to be so good when it launches, will let you set different price points for different markets. Some of you may have heard of this term called Big Mac Index. You know, it shows that a Big Mac in Tokyo, Japan, does not cost the same amount as it does in New Delhi, India, which is very true, right? But yet again, it shows that there's an optimal price point for each item in different regions of the world. So I think with regional pricing, you're going to find that certain markets that currently do not monetize well for your experience right now, you may be surprised on how well it may do when this feature launches and you're able to optimize for that market. The next pillar I want to highlight is automatic translations. I'm sure many of you in this room, if not all of you, are already very familiar with this, so I won't go into very much detail here. But one cool thing that's launching here is Text Chat Service, which is an API that allows you in real time to dynamically load text for automatic translation. This is very helpful for things that are like loaded in, that's not easily scraped by our current services. And the third pillar I want to highlight for those of you in this room that where English may not be your primary language is localized creator tooling and support. We've already launched studio support recently in German and in Vietnamese, and we're looking forward to supporting this in Thai, Indonesian, Polish, and Turkish soon. And creator documentation is coming to your localized languages in 10 different languages later this year. Now I want to summarize everything for the first section of our session here today. What can you do to grow your international user base? First, I think it's really important to understand your users, where your users are coming from right now, what are their languages, their geographies, and their device types. And you probably won't be surprised that a lot of your users are coming from Android devices. So you may want to keep an Android device handy to ensure that your experience and your updates run smoothly on that device. And take advantage of the pricing test that's going to be offered for you in the coming months to optimize for your monetization globally. This will allow you to understand the price elasticity of your virtual items, and it's going to be key to maximizing your bookings as the platform expands more and more globally. And don't forget to partner with brands. Think about partnering with brands, influencers, IPs that may resonate with a target region. If you're seeing traction for your experience in a particular region, there are many brands and other IPs out there that may want to partner with you to help you further grow your experience there. And finally, and I think this is one of the most important things, which is really think about how to insert local flavor, local culture into your experiences to make it feel more native for your users worldwide. This could be in the form of art, music, any regional zeitgeist, offline events to really make it feel like this is my experience, this is my app, it's made for me. So with that, concludes the first portion of our session. I'm super excited to transition to the second half of the session where we're gonna hear from creators who've successfully expanded their experiences worldwide. It is my pleasure to welcome to stage Junie from Clipit and Eric from Carta. Eric. Thanks, Junie. Great. Awesome, I'm gonna make sure everything is placed right. Okay, super excited to have you both here join us on stage today. Thank you, Eric, and thank you, Junie. So first, before we get started, I would love to hear a little bit about both of you. So maybe, Eric, do you wanna go first? Introduce yourself.
I can go first, absolutely. Yeah, awesome to be here. My name is Eric Laundry. I'm the CEO and founder of Carta. We help brands, popular artists, and football clubs, etc., connect with the Roblox audience by building brand and fan experiences, doing integrations into popular games, and releasing UGC items, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Welcome, Eric. Junie.
I'm Juniper. I work on Clipit as the technical lead. We do a lot of cool stuff internationally, and
Yeah, I think a lot of you may be familiar with the experiences that both of you had the honor of you guys having on our platform. So welcome, welcome. Our next question is, for experiences that you're working on or have worked on in the past, what percentage of your users came from markets outside the US? And are there any standout countries that come to mind? How did it come about? Was it serendipitous? Did you go after those markets? I'd love to hear a little bit more about your international expansion or international growth stories.
You want me to go first?
Sure.
I'll do it.
Yes.
Cool. No, I mean, we work a lot with like K-pop artists, like Twice and Blackpink, and obviously K-pop is massively a global phenomenon, but of course it has a big audience across Asia. But yeah, standout countries with those experiences, I would say, are like Indonesia, Philippines, but also Mexico and Brazil have big percentages. And yeah, we are one of our sort of big brand. I'm repping here today. I realized that Hugo, which is one of the brands under Hugo Boss, is one of our big clients that we work on, and for them, the focus is very much sort of US, but also Germany and UK, and I'm super happy that we managed to actually have a very a sort of Germany and UK audience, which can be when you work with brands, it's actually sometimes a bit of a challenge to deal with the global nature of this incredible platform, because we actually don't want to reach everyone. We want to reach targeted audiences.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think that's probably unique to like branded partnerships in some ways, where the marketing dollars may want to focus on a particular region and they don't care as much about certain other regions that they're not.
Yeah, marketing budgets are still like local to a particular market, even if it's a global brand that you think sort of wants to reach everyone. So yeah, it's a bit of a challenge, but we're figuring out ways to deal with it.
Cool. Junie, anything you want to say about Clipit or other experiences for games that you've worked on?
Yeah, so we have a relatively large presence in European countries. French, our largest creator, is German. They have about 500,000 followers in Clipit, which is like on Roblox. It's crazy. Yeah, there's
great.
There's presence in Japan. I think we've seen some Korean clips. It's really cool to see that, and it's also cool because the way we serve clips is we take the locale of the user and we serve them clips based on their locale. And sometimes that also ends up serving across different locales. So if a clip is funny enough or fashionable enough, then they end up surfacing to other languages, which is cool to see.
Oh, interesting. Do you notice anything like crossover that's surprising?
Mainly the funny ones. I see the funny ones crossing over.
So funny is universal.
Yeah, humor's universal. Yeah.
That's great. Great to hear. Next question for both of you. What product features or implementations have you guys implemented in your various experiences to better engage with your international users? Was there tools that Roblox provided, like automatic translation, or features you've implemented yourself to better serve your international users?
Yes. So we've actually used automatic translations a lot. Some of the top clips are automatically translated to every language, which has helped engagement with our game a lot. We're excited about the new stuff that Roblox announced at RDC with the omnidirectional text-to-speech, speech-to-text, super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as I mentioned before, the locale ID in our recommendation algorithm to just surface content to users based on their language so that it's easier to access for them.
Makes sense.
Cool. No, I mean, obviously translation and language is such a, a no-brainer that you have to do. But for us, when we do brand experiences, it's quite a lot, especially when our clients want to target a certain audience. It's like super important that we, make sure that we hit the right references and that we both with the brand, but also with the sort of, because what looks really cool in a sort of American context might not look as cool in another culture's context, and etc. So yeah, really trying to get that right.
Is there any kind of fun anecdotes that you found on like what you thought could work in a country and didn't?
No, but it's like, I guess it's like cultural references, like, should this sort of beach walk look like Venice Beach, or should it, is that cool, or does it match with the audience, or do we need to? And yeah, I mean, we did one game for Ronald McDonald House, the charity of McDonald's, which was super cool because it was only actually accessible to the kids that stay at those houses. And then it was a Swedish campaign, so it's like very focused on getting, and I'm Swedish, so like getting those references right. It was
that's cool.
The map sort of was very sort of native to Swedish landscape and stuff like that. It's fun.
I think that's one thing that we hear from our users far and wide, is that when developers put in these little elements that really resonate, whether it's a festival or an event or just little things that you can tell that they really took the extra care versus just, I think of text translation as sort of table stakes. You got to get it right.
Yep.
And then there's all this other stuff, right, on top of it to really make it feel native to the user. Yeah, that's great. Thank you both for sharing. This question is, I think, maybe more geared towards Eric for you, if you don't mind. You've built a successful studio that is actually global, based in multiple markets. And I think many folks in this audience may be in that position here or about to embark on that position of having a studio or coworkers or whatnot across multiple time zones and multiple geographies. What advice do you have for other people that may be embarking or are currently in this position of working across time zones and across geographies and expanding internationally?
Yeah, I mean, diversity, I think, is a massive strength in any team or in any company. Really, it's good to have diverse perspectives and so embrace it. I think embrace we can work globally now, even though we might end up on some calls on weird time zones sometimes. I think maybe all of us has done that. But yeah, I think then I guess it's about understanding different cultural references and not take for granted that the same thing, how you act in a professional setting might differ a little bit from country to country. I sort of had developers in Southeast Asia, they said, like, with this whole cold talk, like that we just chat, the British office culture is very chat, there's a lot of like, you should be chatting a lot, and they're like, well, we're here to work, and I'm like, but it's good that we communicate and we hang out socially because we actually then we're gonna, it's gonna be easier to do great work together because we feel close, more connected. And yeah, that's just
It's different.
yeah, it can be different, and I think we all have things to learn from each other, right?
Yep, totally, for sure. There's definitely times when I've experienced working with colleagues in this current role and in previous lives where it's like, oh wow, this is, the American way is not always, we get so, in our American bubble sometimes on how we do.
On that note, I wanted to say that that was one of my experiences because, what is so fascinating about this platform is how global it is.
Yep.
And then the first RDC I went to, this is 2 years ago, I was like, this feels like it's just very US focused and the whole, and it felt like it was less of an international crowd, so it's awesome to see.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's awesome to be on this panel with you guys, but also cool to see that 70 countries represented.
Completely agree. I feel like, given how diverse and global our platform is, I'm super excited. This is my second RDC because I joined right after the RDC the year prior. And I have to say, the number of developers I've had the opportunity to meet here from international markets is just more than doubled or tripled than last year. So it's really exciting to see that that RDC is resonating more and more with our global audience.
It's awesome.
And global developers, yeah. Super great. All right. So this is our last, formal question, and then I think we're going to have time for folks to kind of come up and ask questions. So this is a question for both of you. Maybe Junie can start first. Is how much attention do you pay to performance on Android devices, and how do you think about Android devices, especially lower end devices? Is it something that guides your content decisions that you make? Curious on how you guys think about it, since Clipit is so global and is popular globally.
Yeah, so Android is at the center of our focus with every performance consideration that we have. Our team actually has a budget for low-end Android and iPhones, just so that we make sure that even if we think on paper it's working, that it actually does work. Since a lot of our audience is from other countries and Android is prominent in other countries, we want to make sure that we give them the best performance possible. There's a lot of optimization, hacks that we do to make sure that stuff loads and works well on Android. We hide models, but don't reparent them, and just a bunch of different stuff. But yeah, Android's always at the center of our focus when pushing an update.
That's great. That's great to hear. It's exactly what we want to do internally as well.
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's a little bit sometimes you have to, for us, when we work with a client, it's important to understand what they value. So when we work with a music artist, it's usually as many people as possible, right? Whereas sometimes a brand might actually sort of think it's more important that it looks really, really, really high end. That might make it less of a great experience for people on lower end devices. But yeah, obviously that's always it, right? You need to understand what your priorities are, right?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I really do think, and I wonder, as devices, just even lower end Android devices, I feel like they've come a long way in the last couple of years. And I think in a couple more years, it's going to perform even better, right? And
I am an Android user. I don't know, is anyone ever? No.
Who here has a default device that's Android?
Yes.
Are you from other country? I'm just kidding. Yes. Yes. It is great. It's come a long way, and I think it'll go even further. And
I feel a little bit insulted. I'm a Samsung guy. I'm like, this
iPhone is so
high-end.
here.
Yeah. It's so, we're in San Francisco as well.
Right.
Or West Coast California. Yeah. But in Europe, it's
ubiquitous. Yeah.
Android is, I think, more phones. So,
yeah, definitely. I think I can think of maybe just probably a handful of countries around the world where it's iPhone dominated. Versus Android's really rest of the world.
Yeah.
Yep. It's just not here. Yeah. Great. Thank you both. I don't know if we have 5 minutes left from our session. Love to, if folks have questions, feel free to line up on the mics, and we'll try to do as good of a job as we can answering it live. Cool.
So, speaking of internationalization, Marco Vigilini from Italy. We have a studio based in Italy. A question for Eric. What technical strategies have you implemented to limit access to Swedish students only? Thank you.
Oh, so, was that for the Ronald McDonald example?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so that one, it was not even just limited to Swedish people, it was limited to people who were actually staying on
Ronald McDonald.
in the Ronald McDonald house.
We have built something like that for
that's cool.
any. Yeah.
So we did a very simple solution. It was a 4-digit code that you needed to have to access. So there was no like high-end technical
I see.
solutions.
So you get a code.
Yeah,
You input
that's the
code.
first thing that happens. Like put in your code, you don't have the code, you get access to the game. So not very, and yeah. So
Okay. Thank you.
yeah. But I know this, and maybe you know more about that. You can limit, you can give access to specific regions, right, with content that others can't see or can see.
Great.
So many.
Yeah, I know.
Thanks a lot for your input. So yeah, we are in a particular situation. We're working for brands, and we have a brand that is a TV broadcaster, a regional TV broadcaster, who is only interested in traffic from their own region, very, very specific. It's actually the Quebec region in Canada, so it's French-speaking, and it's in Canada. What would be your advice to only reach in your marketing, only reach that specific clientele?
That's like super hard. Like it's something that I've come up against. I've actually been in an early stage of a pitch where it was French Canada, which is obviously, it's really challenging when you have languages like, French, Spanish, and because a lot of your content creators, if you're a famous YouTuber from Quebec, you might have a lot of fans in France, mainland, right, as well. So do I have a perfect solution for you to like do this? I don't. Yeah, I think it's about finding those content creators that have a very specific audience to partner with them to market. But then I guess it's also like, I don't know if you can. I guess we can't target more than down to country. We can't target only French-speaking Canada, I think, with advertising right now.
Yeah.
And something else just to note is Roblox is really cool because it just lets you get everyone at once all around the world. So I guess there's some area for improvement there as well with the advertising stuff.
For advertisers. And I wonder, for the brands that you work with, do they care if you also get French people from France? Maybe it's like they target that, but let's say because the pie is just so much bigger, instead of worrying about only going after this segment, maybe you go after everybody, but then the slice you're going after is there anyway.
I have had advertisers and clients that sort of sees it as like paying, like throwing money
users.
in but it is like dead spend, So it is sometimes a challenge, but then I've also had other clients that are like, oh yeah, we're focused on these regions and these countries, but it's okay that there's people from other.
Yeah, exactly, because then it generates more word of mouth, because it's not like these social graphs are closed to that region anyway. The more you get with other French speakers, the more they talk about it on their social channels, and it just kind of kicks off that flywheel that's going to influence the Quebec French speakers anyway. I don't know.
And then make it a very localized and very targeted experience, I think, in content-wise, right? That's like...
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. This side.
Hi, my name is Carlos. I work at PlayStation, and I wanted to ask, since the game has come on to PlayStation, we're obviously a very global brand. We're 75 different countries. Have you seen any changes, or do you have any insights in how maybe the geographical makeup of your audience, or how that's shifted after the game has come on to PlayStation?
This is you.
So, PlayStation is a very recent thing on Roblox, as you know. Clipit is still working on console support, so yeah. Very, very interesting.
I think let's have a conversation afterwards on that, because I don't think I have off the cuff an answer to it.
Yeah, and I think on the platform side, we're definitely seeing our console users tend to be more retentive and tend to monetize a little better, and they tend to be older. So I think if you optimize your experiences for console and desktop, you're going to get a slightly different cohort of users that it's going to complement your mobile players, I think.
Thank you.
Thanks. maybe one more. I don't know if this time is totally right. If it is, then we have one more.
Okay, I'm Yuki from Geek Out. I come from Japan, and my company deals with everything about Japan. So if anybody's interested in anything about Japan, like, talk to us. But anyway, done advertising. And my question is, so it is very important to focus on like particular regions, time to time, depending on the brand or the purpose of the experience. I agree. And coming from Japan, which is a kind of unique market, our output tends to be pretty unique. But at the same time, we want to go global as well. In terms of that, what are the values or the elements that you focus to have to keep the universality of the experience while you're focusing on particular regions?
I think the universality. I think the key thing in all of this, and especially when you work with like sort of the IPs you have and stuff like this, I think the key thing is that it's authentic to who you are and what the IP is. Because I think that the sort of fans of your IPs are like they're gonna like that. I don't think we should pander if that's too much.
I agree.
But yeah, I don't know if I have anything more to add. Sorry.
I guess I can try and add. So we're in Clipit. Whenever we do an activation with a brand, we're showing them at the top of the asset toolbox. So usually that's like music artists, scenes, so custom scenes they can record in. And then we just show it to like everyone. And I guess since we already have like such a global audience, it kind of helps with the universality. I don't know if that answers your question or if you're looking for something more specific.
Well, yeah, like one of the things that you mentioned is like Clip is like uses the sense of humor to connect with the audience, and that's pretty universal, I thought. So thank you for answering.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming to our session. Hopefully.
Okay, quick selfie.
Oh, yeah.